The title of his speech is Over-Promising and Under-Delivering. He has 5 to 7 minutes to deliver this speech. Emmanuel Rudolf, Over-Promising and Under-Delivering. Over-Promising and Under-Delivering, Emmanuel Rudolf.
Yeah. Help others get what they want, and you will get what you want. This is a quote by Zig Ziglar, which teaches us an interesting fact about business and life. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, bewildered, stressed, and frustrated. That's how I felt last year as I was finalizing my university project. I had to build a prototype for a sourcing platform, but as I lacked the coding skills, I had to look for a website developer. I searched everywhere I could. The deadline was nowhere near. However, to complete my assignment, I had to conduct market research, I had to build a prototype, I had to test it, and then at the end of the academic year, I had to pitch it to the investors. It was an interesting experience as I got to meet a lot of web developers or devs as they refer to themselves. And I quickly learned that whenever they ask you, what's your budget? It's a trick question, as your answer dictates if they should charge you rationally or happily overcharge you. In my experience, the right answer you should give them is an amount that you can afford to lose. Some other developers' motto, if I may, is fake it till you make it, because they comfortably ask you for big bucks while knowing that they don't have the skills required to complete the task you've just given them. Anyways, I ended up going with a cheap alternative whom I met through a friend, as our university professors would often tell us that you should spend the bare minimum. And this cheap alternative was a Sri Lankan software engineer. The quality of his work was not breathtaking, but I didn't need much, so I was fine with the little he was willing to offer. So we held numerous phone calls discussing the details, the technicalities, the timelines, and the outcomes of the project. The negotiations went really well. I believe it was a win-win for both parties. However, once the development started, oh boy, it was interesting as we could now see the fruits of an upcoming disaster showing. During our weekly calls where we would discuss our progress, the developer would take initiative. He would tell me what usually works in this industry, what doesn't work, and what is the best available option. And by the end of the call, he would remind me that, Emmanuel, don't worry, I plan on outperforming myself in this project. I really admired that he was striving for greatness, but I learned that sometimes it's best to be transparent about what you can and cannot do. The calls quickly turned into apology letters in the form of emails and text messages, loaded with reasons why I could not complete a certain phase of the project in a given time. I did my best to be understanding. I knew that nothing ever goes as planned, but I wanted to know why. I wanted to know what happened and what we could do to fix this. Since we were a team, we should work together to fix this. However, there wasn't much that I could do. And I knew that I could not go meet my investors empty-handed. And I also knew that adding pressure to this would not solve the issue. Therefore, my last resort was shifting my approach from collaborating to compromising. I had to accept everything that he had to tell me because I reached the point where I was fed up and I wanted this website to be deployed. Therefore, I asked the developer through a phone call. I asked him, what can we do? He answered, I'm going to delete the messaging feature so that we could deploy the website. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the fruits of the upcoming disaster I was just telling you about were finally ripe. Because without a messaging feature, our users will not be able to communicate with each other. Therefore, there's no sourcing that will take place. There's no trading that will take place. We ended up deleting the messaging feature and adding a comments feature, similarly to the ones you find on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all the other social medias. What we were meant to complete in 6 months, we did in 12. But the good news, I know you were waiting for that part. The good news was that the website was live. We got a few users to test it. They gave us feedback, and there I was, having the time of my life, pitching it to investors and telling them about my success. It surely did not go as planned. However, it was not that bad. And in all candor, my advice would be that you get what you paid for. And often the cheap alternative is only the tip of the iceberg. It looks cheap from far, it looks nice, but then the hidden costs are way bigger than you anticipated. So what will I do differently? Considering that this happened last year, and I've been lucky enough to meet a lot more developers. And I learned something very interesting, which I will share with you right now, which I'm sure will help you as, I don't know, maybe if one day you feel like developing your own website, is that some developers ask for cheap prices for only one reason. It's because they plan on copying the work they did for someone else and giving it to you. They will make minor changes such as designs so that they can give you a sense of ownership and novelty, and you will feel proud to have completed your project. So taking all of that into consideration, I would increase my budget. I would not listen to my professors. I would tell them that in life, you get what you paid for. And I would go with the not so cheap alternative. And fingers crossed, hopefully, nobody will be making promises that they cannot keep. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, thank you very much for listening. And over to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.